In this video, I want to look at some of the events leading to war and kind of where that takes us. So I'm going to kind of outline it like we did in the previous video. What were the events leading to war and kind of talk about each one of those. So we know that the assassination of Franz Ferdinand triggered a series of events that's going to lead us into war. A month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary sends an ultimatum to Serbia, which, if agreed to, would have given Austria control of Serbia. When Serbia gives an evasive reply, Austria declares war, and Austria acted with the knowledge that it had the support of Germany, but this action may bring Russia into war. Failed diplomacy between Kaiser Wilhelm and Tsar Nicholas led to the full mobilization of the Russian army, which in effect was a declaration of general war. And I want you to look at this cartoon over here. It says the lamps are going out all over Europe. What do you think that means? Bring that knowledge with you. Kind of look at the details in the picture. What do you think that's saying? And we'll talk about that as we lead into this discussion in class. So, continuing looking at these events leading to war, French and German troops are going to mobilize, while some diplomatic efforts are going to be attempted. France assured Russia that it would come to its aid. Germany demanded that France stay out of the conflict, but when France refuses, Germany declares war on France. German military strategy planned for a two-front war, defeat France with a lightning attack through Belgium, and then turn on Russia. And when Germany initiated its attack on France by going through neutral Belgium, Great Britain declared war on Germany. Again, that's where those alliances come into play. And when I have an alliance with one country and another country invades them, that drags me into war. And so those alliances become a conflict of interest here. Let's first look at the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Why did all the leaders in Europe who did not want to go to war seemingly jump headfirst into armed conflict when the opportunity came? Well, Emperor Franz Ferdinand Joseph's son committed suicide. The emperor was forced to appoint his nephew, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, as heir to the Austrian-Hungarian throne. And Ferdinand's ideas to end the dual monarchy, expanded rights beyond the nobility, and his commoner wife had all created strife between the emperor and his heir. So Ferdinand and his wife visited Sarajevo to build unity in this ethnically diverse empire. And on June 28, 1914, during a parade, a member of the Black Hand, a Serbian revolutionary group, threw a bomb into the Archduke's car. The bomb missed, but the driver took a wrong turn and ended up stopping beside Gavrilo Princip, another Black Hand member, and Princip pulled his pistol and killed Ferdinand and his wife. These shots proved to be the catalyst for starting the Great War. Princip was arrested, and the revolutionary group he belonged to was secretly supported by members of the Serbian government, again, thickening the plot here. After some hesitation, the emperor decided to use his nephew's assassination as an excuse to punish Serbia. Some pictures over here of the Archduke Ferdinand and his wife on the parade route, and then of the apprehension of the murderer of Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Princip. So, Franz Joseph ultimatum to Serbia that he issues. We know the Emperor Franz Joseph blamed Serbia for his nephew's death. And he, along with leading Austrian officials, wanted to punish Serbia for its role in encouraging the Slavic nationalism, again, that key term there, in Austria-Hungary. So, at the same time, Austria-Hungary knew it needed to avoid a general war in Europe. And once it had secured Germany's support, Austria-Hungary sends an ultimatum to Serbia. Giving the nation only 48 hours to comply, the ultimatum had three main components. Those three main components were to suppress all anti-Austrian propaganda, number two, to dissolve nationalist and terrorist groups, and number three, to allow Austrian representatives to participate in Serbia's investigation of assassination plot and serve on all government agencies dealing with revolutionaries. So a lot of ultimatums given to Serbia. Austria needed to act quickly to prevent other nations from mobilizing in support of Serbia or offering diplomatic solutions which would force Austria to be the aggressor in the war and then weaken its positions on peace settlements. So blaming terrorists, Serbia denied it had any connection with this assassination, and even so, Serbian officials were willing to comply with the first two demands to suppress all anti-Austrian propaganda and to dissolve the nationalist and terrorist groups. but not to allow Austrian representatives to participate in the investigation of the assassination plot or to serve on agencies dealing with revolutionaries. So not with those. So this third demand is going to require Serbia to surrender its sovereignty. And knowing a refusal of this ultimatum means war, Serbia in turn asked Russia if they would come to their aid, since they're both from Slavic nationality, and so they turned to Russia. Well, it thickens the plot even more. Germany's Kaiser Wilhelm II believes that there were two reasons a major war would not break out in Europe. The first was based on his own family's ties. Wilhelm, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and Queen Victoria of England were all first cousins. This kinship created friendships, and the leaders were often sent personal messages directly to one another, and Wilhelm believed that these family ties would supersede all other interests. Secondly, Wilhelm views this assassination of Archduke Ferdinand as an attack on the institution of monarchy, and the Kaiser assumed that his cousin's desire to protect and preserve their monarchies would outweigh other loyalties and concerns. He's going to be wrong on both accounts. Russia's Tsar Nicholas, his cultural ties to Serbia are going to trump his family ties and his allegiance to this idea of monarchy. Germans share a common language and culture with Austria, and Russia saw Serbia as its Slavic brother. Tsar Nicholas II mobilizes his army to support Serbia. Kaiser Wilhelm II mobilized his army in response, and both are going to refuse to back down, and the die is cast for a war. Okay, we got Russia pitted against Germany. They're first cousins, but neither one of them are going to back down from this fray. And so we see mobilization. Pre-war mobilization plans exasperated hopes for diplomatic resolution in Europe. In other words, we're not going to solve this by sitting across the table from each other. As telegrams passed between Germany and Russia in the few days following Austria's declaration of war on Serbia on July 28th, military leaders were already calling up troops. An anxious Europe waits to see if either Russia or Germany is going to back down, and they're not going to have to wait very long. Germany declared war on Russia on August 1st, 1914, opening the way for the rest of Europe to become involved in the conflict. Germany's Schlieffen Plan. Well, the Schlieffen Plan, named for Count Alfred von Schlieffen, its author outlines Germany's plan of attack in the event of conflict with Russia and France. It was devised between 1892 and 1905, and the plan centered on a rapid defeat of France so that Germany would not have to divide its forces on two fronts. Germany considered avoiding a two-front war as essential in order to defeat Russia. So Russia's at our doorstep. We need to focus on one plan of attack rather than having our army split into two fronts of war. The plan, however, also calls for breaching Belgium's neutrality. So in order to get to France, and again you see it on the map here, we've got to cross through Belgium. And Belgium has an alliance with England. And that meant that any violation of Belgium neutrality is going to create a conflict with England as well. So in essence, the Schlieffen Plan was a guarantee that any conflict leading to its implementation would also lead to an inevitable world crisis. So Germany's plan of attack, get rid of the France problem, then we'll turn our forces directly onto Russia, is going to be a complicated one. And again, because of geography, we're having to pass through Belgium, which is going to pull England into the conflict. Some discussion questions. Again, if you'll answer these in your notes, we'll talk about these in class. If you need to go back and watch the video, pause it to look at these answers, please do so and be ready to discuss these. Number 1, Austria-Hungary took the bold step of declaring war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. Why did its alliance with Germany make it easier for it to take this step? Number 2, the need for time to mobilize armies in 1914 was a key part of what drove Europe to war that summer. Why was the problem of mobilizing armies such an important factor in causing the war to start? Number 3, Germany thought its Schlieffen Plan would help it avoid a long two-front war, but historians say it actually helped to bring about exactly what it was meant to avoid. Can you explain what these historians meant by this? Answer those in your notes and bring those with you to class.